Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me for another video. It is Wednesday, which means we have quarterbacks and kickers, as well as running backs coming out later today. But in this one, I am going over the top 24 options at quarterback, as well as my top 15 kickers. I want to get you guys the best information that I can possibly deliver, so you can make the most awesome decisions to crush your opponents and go out and get those crucial dubs. The playoffs are coming up real quickly here, and every decision that we make is going to have a huge impact on where we place. Which is why it is more important than ever that you drop your comments and your questions down below. Get the conversation started by asking questions. I can help you out. We can get better together, and that is what it is all about. If you are new to the channel, Relentless Press has content Monday to Saturday. I'm doing over 10 videos every single week. I drop them at 12 p.m. Pacific, so you know when they are available. Make sure you like the video if you find yourself enjoying the content, and please consider dropping a subscription to the channel to keep Relentless Press moving forward. We just passed our goal of 500 subscribers. We are on our way to 1,000. And you can help us get there by clicking that button. So without any further ado, let's hop into Week 14's quarterback rankings. The top spot this week goes to Jalen Hurts. He travels to New York to take on the Giants. He is on one of the more incredible fantasy runs in recent memory. He's got 8 straight quarterback one finishes, with just one of those outside of the top 6. He's also accounted for 21 touchdowns and just a single pick in that time. He is the MVP frontrunner without a doubt for me. Patrick Mahomes, his competition, is up next at 2. He's actually 2 games ahead of that quarterback one streak that Hurts is rolling with, but he does have 8 picks in those last 10 games. The Denver matchup here is bottom 3, so not ideal, but I do have a feeling that Patty bounces back in a big way after losing his 3rd straight to Joe Cool. At the top of tier 2 is none other than Mr. Cool himself. Joe Burrow has been a top 2 finisher in 2 out of his last 3 games, and he should have his full complement of weapons back for the first time in well over a month. The Browns defense that he faces is going to look a lot different than they did last week, with this elite offense clicking on all cylinders. Josh Allen is up next. He's at 4. He has struggled a bit as of late, and it does not get any easier with this matchup and one of the best secondaries in the entire NFL. New York has surrendered just 2 passing scores over their last 3 weeks. And I think that means Josh Allen just turns to his legs a little bit more in this one, and that is just fine with managers. To round out my top 5 is Justin Herbert. He has posted back-to-back top 10 performances for the first time since week 1 and 2, and he's going to continue that hot streak against a Miami team that's surrendering nearly 21 points a game to the position, 4th most in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa leads off tier number 3. He felt the pressure and the pain of an elite defense, and he struggled for his 2nd straight outing last week against San Francisco. He broke his streak of 5 games without a turnover as well. Now, thankfully, the Chargers are a great get-right opportunity for him. Over the last 3 games, they're giving him over 250 passing yards per, and they've allowed 7 passing scores in that time. Both of those numbers rank bottom 6 in the league. Kyler Murray is up next. He has been a top 10 performer in 4 straight games, but I think this Patriots defense will be his biggest test of the season. The Cardinals are going to struggle to move the ball on the ground here, so Murray is going to utilize his arm to try to dissect that Patriots secondary, and probably for the 3rd straight game, he will also rush for 50 plus. Dak Prescott is my next man up. My concern here is that the Cowboys brutalize the Texans so much in this matchup that Dak is not going to have to air it out much. However, that was the case for Indy last week, and he was still able to throw for 3 scores, and he finished in the top 10 for his 4th time in 5 games. They did that to Minnesota too, so I think the production will come for Dak as he keeps it rolling. To tier number 4, it is Kirk Cousins at the top. He has not been able to put it together in 2 out of his last 3 games, but I am not losing the faith in Kirko. Detroit is exactly what he needs to show up and post a big stat line. No one allows more points per game to the position, and after Justin Jefferson just got held down by his lofty standards, it is bombs away to Jet this week. Geno Smith rounds out my top 10. He continued his unlikely run with a top 3 finish last week against the Rams. He's thrown for 695 yards and 5 scores over his last 2 games. And he also has a 6-game streak where he's tossed a pair of scores at minimum. The Panthers have been feisty as of late, but I do not think it's enough to stop a Hawks team with its eyes on a playoff berth led by Geno. At 11, I have Trevor Lawrence. He looks like he dodged a potentially brutal injury against the Lions, but we're going to need to keep an eye on reports to ensure that he is good to go this week. If that is the case, I expect a monster game here against a Titans team that's allowed 6 tutties and nearly 900 yards through the air in their last 3. Both of those numbers are bottom 6 in the league. Jared Goff is the last quarterback one that I have in week number 14. He's coming off his best game since back in week 4, and he should post another 300-plus yard performance against the Vikings. Minnesota is allowing 20 points to Signal Colors this season and an average of 345 passing yards over the last 3. They haven't been able to stop anybody. And honestly, I think this ranking is probably really close to his floor. So if you are streaming, Goff is a great option. Tier 5 starts with Tyler Huntley, fresh out the sub to Lamar Jackson, who is injured and week to week. He finished at the 14th spot in just 3 quarters of play against Denver last week, and the Steelers are surrendering 2 passing scores and over 255 yards a game this season. When we add in his ability on the ground, Huntley offers a ton of upside. Derek Carr is in at 14. He's posted a quarterback 1 finish in 3 straight games for the first time all season, and the Rams have fallen apart at the seams as a defense as of late. LA has given up 7 touchdowns and over 900 passing yards over their last 3. Both of those are 3rd most in the NFL. Carr and Adams will continue to light up the sky. Deshaun Watson is up next at 15. He was pretty brutal in his first game back, but I am buying his upside even in this difficult matchup. The Bengals allow under 14 points a game to the position, so temper expectations and hope that we see flashes of 2020 Watson. They are coming sooner rather than later. My Sweet 16 is Ryan Tannehill, who should be able to rebound after back-to-back tough matches with an easy one here against the Jags. Jacksonville is giving up nearly 20 points a game to passers, and they just let Jared Goff go for nearly 350 yards last week. I don't think Tannehill is going to get there quite, but he is good for 250 plus and a pair of scores. Tom Brady is at the top of tier number 6. He slides against the San Francisco defense that has mauled everything in their path. Brady couldn't get much going for most of the game Monday night, but when the game mattered most, he turned it on and threw a pair of late crucial scores to get the Bucs the win. He is likely to struggle here against that 49ers defense, but he is going to have a ton of volume here, and it'll be enough to hit this deep in my rankings. In at 18 is Mike White, who has 2 starts and 2 top 7 finishes to his name. It certainly helps him out that the matchups have been extremely forgiving, and I think we see him snap back to reality a little bit here against the Bills. It is hard to bench him because of what we have seen him do, but I would not chase the points here if I don't have to. I think he still has QB1 upside in this game, but his floor is more like a top 20 play. To the top of tier 7, it is Daniel Jones, who rebounded for a top 12 finish last week, but no one is allowing fewer points to the position on the season than Philly. Jones's legs probably help him a bit here, but it's not going to be enough to make him anything more than a hopeful risk. With just 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games, the ceiling is also capped for him. Russell Wilson is the last quarterback in my top 20. He has not gotten inside the top 25 in 2 straight weeks, and he hasn't cracked this ranking since way back in week number 6, making it really hard to push for him here. The Chiefs do give up top 5 numbers to quarterbacks, so if you're looking for a silver lining, that is it. Just know he is more than likely going to let you down as usual. Mac Jones is my next man up at 21. He's looked pretty pitiful outside of that game against Minnesota, but it is not out of the question that he takes this excellent matchup against the Cardinals and runs with it. more than likely he's going to hand off to Ramondre Stevenson 20 or more times. Do as little as he can to not screw it up. But if you're rolling him out, you have to hope. Brock Purdy is the last quarterback I have in tier number 7. He actually looked halfway decent in relief of Jimmy G. He threw for over 200 yards and a pair of scores against Miami. Unfortunately, the Bucs are fighting for their playoff lives and are going to cause a ton of issues for this young quarterback. If he can get the ball to his playmakers, they probably are able to help him out, but I would like to see it again before I'm buying it. Moving on to number 23, and it is Kenny Pickett sitting there. He's thrown for just 371 yards and a single score over his last 2 games, so there is not much reason for optimism if you are playing him. He has, however, rushed for nearly 50 yards in that span, so that is something. If you're this deep in the rankings, I wish I knew how to help you out better. This is as good as I got, and it's not getting any better next at 24 with Sam Darnold. But hey, there are 6 teams on bye in week 14, so I'm not exactly sure what you want me to do. Now, in his defense, he was fairly decent against the Broncos prior to his bye. He threw for a pair of scores and did not turn it over. The issue is his range of outcomes is far wider than anything I would want to deal with. A couple quarterbacks who just missed the cut this week include the starter against Vegas, whether that's John Wolford or Bryce Perkins, and Kyle Allen against Dallas. Before we get into my kickers for the week, please consider dropping a like on the video if you are enjoying the content. A monster shout out to all of my current subscribers. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support me. It means everything as we continue to move forward with the press. And now it's week 14's kickers. Butker is at the top. He travels to Denver. I think he sees plenty of opportunities against a Broncos defense that's allowing 10 points a game to the position. With Kansas City's offense hitting their stride, Butker is always a safe play with a bunch of upside. Justin Tucker is up next at 2, and at 3 I have Evan McPherson against Cleveland. To headline tier 2 is Nick Folk against Arizona on the road, and Tyler Bass is at 5. He gets the Jets. My 6th ranked kicker is Cade York. He travels to Cincinnati. He should put up another top 10 finish with the rust slowly coming off of Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb helping out in a big way on the ground. York has made at least 1 field goal in every game but 1 this season as well, so he has a decent floor. Next up on my list at 7 is Michael Badgley in that matchup with my Vikings, and Jason Sanders travels to LA to take on the Chargers. He is at 8. My 9th ranked kicker is Brett Maher, who has not kicked a field goal in the last 2 weeks as Dallas continues to find the end zone. They've done it a whopping 10 times. I do expect a few chances to finally come his way in this game, but just know that the floor here is 4 or 5 extra points. Jason Myers rounds out my top 10, and in at 11 it is Cameron Dicker against Miami. Greg the Leg, Mr. Joseph, is in at 12. He gets Detroit this week. He has at least 2 field goals in 4 of his last 5 games as that Vikings offense continues to produce against great defenses, may I add. He is always a threat to mix an extra point. He's done that 5 times this season, but I expect fireworks against the Lions, and Greg is going to have a busy day because of it. At the top of tier 5 is Graham Gano against Philadelphia. Same game, other side. Jake Elliott is in at 14. He's hit just 3 field goals in his last 6 games as the Philly offense has caught fire, but I think the Giants are able to clamp down at least once or twice and give Elliott some work. New York allows top 10 numbers to kickers this year, nearly 9 points per game. Matt Prater is the last kicker that I have in week 14, and a couple of guys that just missed the cut include Robbie Gould, Ryan Suckup, and Greg Zuerlein. And that is everything for today's video. Really hope you enjoyed the content, and I hope that you learned something. Let me know how I did on my rankings. I'm always open to criticism, constructive or otherwise, because it's the internet, and I want to be able to help you out. So drop questions, drop comments, whatever you got down below. I promise I will get back to you in a reasonable amount of time, and I also usually give a pretty detailed response whenever I do get them. Drop a like on the video if you would be so kind, and then subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and I will see you next time.